Hi, folks. Welcome to the tactical breakdown for the Bristol City and Leeds United game. If you're interested in just the top line conversational stuff, we have the review, which we put out on Tuesday. And you can check that out with Jerry McNamee and Paul from the Leeds Therapy. That's our overview, chit-chatty bit about the game. But this is more diving into my background as a coach, Lockie's background in coaching and analytics as well, to look at Leeds from a more tactical detail. So for those who want that, this is for you. For those who don't want that, the review is there for the more conversational pieces. You can check them out if you want to. Also, down below, Lockie's channel details will be there as well. Go check out if you want a bigger, detailed tactical breakdown of the Bristol City game. Lockie has some pieces he's put out this week already. You can check that out if you want to. We'll check in with Lockie first and foremost. Lockie, how you doing, mate? How's things?
All right, mate. Yeah, all right. Been a busy week. Some work stuff. Been doing a lot of scout reports and stuff like that. So it's been fun though. Been fun. But when you watch loads of football, suddenly the Leeds game just becomes a bit of a mess within it. So it's kind of like just sort of a game, really. But yeah, I'm all right, mate. I'm all right. How are you?
I'm okay. I wasn't happy seeing you finishing work at 5 a.m. this morning doing videos and messaging. That was like very busy boy doing his work. But yeah, I'm good. Looking forward to anyone watching this. Will be late this evening. This is a pre-record, by the way. Yeah, I'll be out get my final bits and pieces done tomorrow morning's the wedding. So looking forward to that. Yeah, I'm looking forward to it though, mate. Yeah, I'm really excited about it. I can't wait. Long time coming, but it's nearly there now. So yeah, all good. But we're here to talk about Bristol City and Leeds United. Lucky, I've said it a couple of times this week already in the breakdown, the preview of the game and what I want to see from Leeds, and then the review, and then what we actually got to see from Leeds. And we know Leeds have these performances in their locker. We know that this team has gears and levels to it. We've seen them tear teams apart inside the first 5 or 10 minutes, and then we've seen the Farka drop off, as I'm starting to call it now at this stage, where it just drops a bit deeper. But against Bristol City, Lockie, it never really looked like it was going to get going. Farka himself talked about an underperformance from the team, but we've seen this performance from Leeds. Not so much, in my opinion, an ability to break down Bristol City in the low block, but maybe just a little bit passive in what we do. But that's my take on it, but I want to get yours on it as well. So how did you feel about it?
Yeah, there's a lot of bad decisions in that game, I think. Bristol City did really well in the sense that their structure, they had 5 guys that were really high up and just blocked anything in the middle. And then when they went wide, that block would just move. Like you say, it wasn't a low, it was more of a mid block, to be fair. It's quite high. There was spaces there. It weren't a low block by any means. And we weren't creative enough to break that down. The pass decision was wrong at times. The run off the passer was wrong. The hesitation on the ball was there a lot. So yeah, it weren't an effective performance on the ball, I'd say. Off the ball, still, we have to clarify this. Excellent again. We always are, and that's a good base for me. That's why I'm actually all right. But yeah, on the ball, there's still teething problems there. There's still people who've got to be on the same wavelength. And excuse me, my voice. But yeah, in the game, we did get it right sometimes, and we should have scored from it. But for a lot of the game, it was very different wavelengths. You know, everyone was on a different wavelength. So there was a lot of hesitation in the game. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, on we look at the breakdown of the game, and on paper, everything would suggest that Leeds should have had a reasonably dominant win. For if you can't see that, I'll just make it a bit bigger for everyone. We're using SofaScore at the moment. There we go. So just looking from a tactical breakdown perspective, 68% possession, Lucky. So we had plenty of the ball. Yeah. Bristol City with 0.1 XG, no big chances, 4 shots in total. There was, of those 4 shots, by the way, none of them were on target. So there was no shots on target from them. And from a Leeds perspective, 1.38 expected goal, but you're looking at probably Willie Nanto's chance with the open goal that was cleared off the line. And then the one in the first half that he just doesn't lift it over the goalkeeper's probably been the bulk of those. 17 shots from Leeds, no saves made by Meslier. Corners, well, back to not really bothering with corners. Outpassed them against 600 odd passes. So everything on paper suggests, Lucky, if you look at, these are the goals with these chances. These were all Bristol City's chances. That one went wide from Naki Wells, Luke McNally wide. You would have shot wide and Naki Wells would have shot blocked. And if you look at Leeds, it's just anything with a dot on it is a shot on target. So you can see how many wild shots Leeds had outside of the goal. But the ones in the dots are the ones that are on target. But like, we had plenty in and around the box. We've had plenty of possession. We've had plenty of shots in total. And it ends up being a 0-0 draw. What went wrong, Lockie? Where did Leeds fall down for you?
That XG against, by the way, that is unbelievable from us. Every week we do that as well.
From a defensive perspective.
We have to clarify, don't we? Like, breaking the game down defensively, we look really, really good. So that's always a positive. But yeah, again, clarity, understanding, decision making. We were actually for a lot of it, we were actually quite good at getting it into our front four early on in the game. Second half was different, but early on in the game we got it to our front four really well. But again, it's the understanding of them for me. They don't seem to put it this way, right? When we got the ball, usually you'd have one or two coming to feet, one or two in behind, and it's all in sync. But in the game against Bristol, it was one person would move out of a space, but no one would go into that space that was vacated. It was a bit like that. And then when they did go into the space, the guy on the ball had already turned back and gone back to the centre backs. It was too reactionary, not proactive. So it's a thing we've seen. It's a thing that happens in football as well. Like this happens. We're not sitting here saying this is the worst thing in the world, but we're just analysing the performance and saying this needs to improve. Like Daniel Farke will be doing at training with the players right now. So yeah, that was it for me. I just don't think in their minds it was clear when they got the ball, the runs people were meant to make. I don't know whether it was different from usual, but they weren't on it. Basically, they weren't on it. They didn't understand the instructions.
I think it's very clear to break the football into two different areas. There is the defensive side of the game, Leeds out of possession, and the attacking side of the game, Leeds in possession. Leeds have had 7 clean sheets this season. So from a defensive perspective, clean sheets win you titles. That's how they always say. A good defense will win you titles. A good attack will win you games. But the basis is clean sheets. And Leeds are doing that really, really well right now. Pascal Struijk and Joe Rodon forming a fantastic partnership that's growing each and every game. The calmness that Pascal Struijk brings to the team as well is excellent for me. You got the partnership in the middle of the park between Joe Rothwell and now Tanaka, who is sitting a bit deeper and is doing his defensive jobs quite well. Both of them are doing defensive jobs quite well. So when you look at that half of Leeds so far this season, excellent work, excellent stuff, fantastic. Really, really good defense. We considered 8 goals all season, one of the best defensive records in the division. But then you look at what Leeds have going forward, and that's the second half of the game, and you've got Willie Gnonto, Dan James, Brendan Aronson, started with Joel Piru. You've got Elfsmack and Rothwell in midfield who can be progressive. We didn't have Junior Firpo, we had Sam Byram. I've seen people say, well, Byram wasn't as good as Firpo going forward, yet if Mateo Joseph scores the header that everyone believes he should score, Sam Byram would have an assist because it was his cross, and he had another ball in that Gnonto missed as well. So he could have walked away with 2 assists, even though he's not that good at attacking, he still could have come away with 2 assists. So some of the finishing from the goal wasn't great, but nothing on paper suggested that Leeds would be anyway kind of defensive. It would be very much an attacking performance from Leeds. And again, it just really didn't kick into gear. It felt a bit flat. Everything felt a bit slow. You said reactionary. It was looked more like a case of everyone had to look up to find the pass rather than being an instinctive pass or someone looking for the ball and calling for it early so they knew where they were. It was leaving everyone else to do the job rather than making it easier for them on the ball by making them aware of where you are in the space that you're in, or in the other case you said as well, just the instructions about what they were wanting to do not being that clear. And you talked about this before. I know you've got a couple of clips you want to show as well, but you talked about a disconnect in this as well. So when you say there was a disconnect, you talked about Rothwell and Tanaka being confused necessarily at times about whether they should go forward with the ball or they should try and go back with the ball, or they wanted to go forward, but they didn't ultimately because of whatever this disconnect was.
Yeah. That was the huge issue. And I'll show some clips in a second on that. And there's other aspects as well that, it was frustrating because I know people are saying like, comparing them to Gruev and Ampadu. And for me, the different profiles of players at a base, I think Ampadu and Gruev naturally like to play it simple and side to side, whereas these two actually like to go forward. But the comparison here is there was no options to do that a lot of the time. Even in situations where Ampadu and Gruev have had options, they've not chose it as often as Rothwell and Snaka do. So it's slight differences there. I understand the comparison, but it's about the profile of the player. And just on Byram quickly, Joe, before I get into it, like I'm not going to criticize Sam Byram for not being left-footed, or we know what Sam Byram is.
Yeah,
but he played the way that we know he is. So I don't get how you can criticize him for playing the way we know he would. Do you know what I mean? He kept the ball really well. Look, he didn't have the options, I'll be honest, as well. Watching it back, there was not the options down that line. There was always really one pass on, and if that wasn't on, he had to go back. But Sam Byram. I'm not going to criticize him for not being Junior Firpo. I think that's a bit weird, to be honest, because he's not Junior Firpo. He's Sam Byram. We know what he is, right? And he did what we expected he would do. So for me, whatever. Would you play Schmidt? There's a conversation. I want to see more of him, but is he ready? I don't think he is yet. Or he'd be playing him.
I think he's Bogle's replacement as well. I don't think he's the left-sided replacement. I think that's Byram. I think he's the Bogle. We'll find out on Saturday if he does play instead of Bogle, if that is the case, or if he decides to go with Sam Byram on the right as well because of
that'll be an
consistency.
interesting one.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'll get into the clips now, Joe.
Okay.
The first little set of them I did do in my video because they just summarize it well. But after that, I've got a few more that I've not shown there that show different sides of it. So the first one's right. So this is actually all these are in the second half, by the way, because I think this is where we were looking for a step up in a reaction when the game settled. This one that's actually good. This is the first instance where, so the red line here is the ball, the path of the ball. Now Rodon passes this, and the ball goes straight through their entire midfield into Pirro's feet. This was something that worked that we didn't do. So obviously you've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, then 5 Bristol City players. They blocked this area really well, as you can see. But what they didn't do was occupy spaces behind them. Yeah. So behind them, between them and the back line, there was a lot of spaces to play in either side. And we didn't exploit this enough. When we did do it, like in this situation, you can see a pass here to Gnonto, and you're in down this side. You're attacking them. You've got him, Dan James running off the last man. This was good. However, and this is a problem for me. And again, just clarify, everyone's on different lines as well, which is good. There's more passing angles.
Yeah.
This is the issue. So the ball progressed, it went out wide. From that move, it went to this situation. And this is where the reactionary comes in for me, Joe. Gnonto's got the ball here. He's not sprinting. He's kind of jogging. He's waiting for Sam Byram to make a move so he can go 1v1 with his winger, with his fullback. Now, the issue is Sam Byram makes that move inside, but Gnonto's reaction isn't to go 1v1. In fact, he doesn't react. The second Sam Byram goes inside here is when Gnonto should be sprinting down in this space to go 1v1 with the winger, with a fullback. And he doesn't. He hesitates. As you can see, Sam Byram goes inside. He's still in the same position.
Yeah.
Clearly.
Dead.
Yeah, right. The fullback, this guy's saying to the fullback, go the line. He's telling him what he's going to do, but he don't do it. But he should have done that here. The second he makes that movement, boom, into that space. 1v1. Look at all this space. He's finished. This fullback's finished if he drives in here. But he doesn't
or
do that.
Put the ball into the space ahead of Sam Byram and let him be the one to run into that space. But again, indecision is fatal in those areas. And I've talked an awful lot about, and you've talked about it as well, mate, tempo. The second Willie Gnonto stops, that's it, dead.
Yeah, exactly. And there's other options as well that I'll get into. So now Byram stops here. Byram's probably thinking, why have you not drove into that space? I've made the dummy run. I've took this guy off you. You're 1v1. You know, he shouldn't be here. He should be here by now. Yeah. And I'll tell Byram in a minute does point. But there's an issue here as well. What's Pirro's role in all this? So if Gnonto's not driving, is he waiting for Joe Pirro to make that run into this space?
To split the line. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. This is we don't know because we're not there, but we know we've watched a lot of football. We've been in it for a few years, Joe. No one's made a decision here, have they? That's the problem.
Which puts the pressure back on the guy on the ball to figure out what he's going to do. Yeah. And then everyone's looking at Gnonto screaming at him, pass the ball. But realistically, where is he passing? I mean, he can go 2 yards sideways to Byram and just get it back off him. But then the space is going to get closed even more when that ball's in transition. But as you say, the obvious pass is left foot around the back for Joe Pirro to split the line. But there's no move to do that. So he can't just play that ball. Otherwise, he's guilty of giving possession away because Joe Pirro hasn't given an indication that he's making that move. In fact, Pirro's not even pointing to say, I want the ball. Exactly. Bamford gets a lot of stick for this, but he does tell you where he wants the ball played.
Yeah. And this is it. Indecision, Pirro's looking good. Am I in that space? Am I occupying the centre back? I'm not sure. So this is even more. So this is the same move. So Gnonto's now decided, right, I'm going to drive at these defenders. But even in this situation here, look at Sam Byram. He's pointing again. Someone make that move. Get out of this space. He's in this space. He's occupied it. Joe Pirro now has to make that run in there for me. It's a quick window, but there's a ball through. It's a quick window, but there is a ball through. Now this is the problem. So Joe Pirro makes this run eventually. He doesn't do it now. He does it about three seconds later. But when he does make that run, it's too compact at this point.
It's way too compact.
You see what I mean?
There's
no space to run in behind you. There's 3v2 now. You're doing nothing. However, when he does make that dummy run, this is where the reaction of Aronson has to come into it, and he has to anticipate that's going to happen. And then the space that he vacated, you've got three guys watching him. There's space in here. This is what it should look like. The second he makes that run, he should have done it earlier. So he occupies 3 defenders, and Aronson can quickly drive into the space that he's vacated. But he's hiding. What is the point of him in this position here? Do you know what I mean?
See him. Yeah.
Yeah. One guy makes a run, another guy vacates, goes into the space that was vacated. That didn't happen. And that was the issue from the start. You could go back to this bit here. When he makes a space for Gnonto, Gnonto's got to drive quickly into the space, doesn't do it. Here, Pirro has to make an option somewhere, doesn't do it. This situation, Pirro has to be there now. He has to do it earlier, doesn't do it. Sam Byram's literally pointing and telling him. That's the issue.
A couple of bits on this as well, Lockie, if I can pick up on it. If you can go back to the first one, and just to follow through, because there's in this area here, so there's a thing you want to do with a fullback. If you're not playing the ball to the player or into space for him to utilize it, then you use him as a dummy or as a wall to effectively give you the space that you want to play in. As Sam Byram starts to move in, that's when Willie should be making that run immediately, because then he uses Sam Byram's body to take the guy with the black arrow out of the equation completely, because he shields him from him, and then it gives him that half a yard even just to blindside both defenders. They miss him for a split second, then he's that half a second gets him in. That doesn't happen. But if you go to the next one, when I talk about tempo and when I talk about things slowing down, if you look in this, because the game has stopped, you now have an additional midfielder who is starting to drop into that defensive space because it's stopped. And then if you go to the next one, there's no option to pass to Sam Byram now, because that midfielder has now locked onto Byram, and the winger and the fullback that we're looking after, Byram and Gnonto, are now both looking after Gnonto, so he's doubled up on. And that's an area that causes the move to just stop and die and break down. But there's one other part, and you talked about Aronson hiding, and if you can go to where Aronson should have been slide that you've got, that one.
Great editing.
This is how you break a line on a low block. That ball goes into Aronson's feet, and the first pass from Aronson is straight through the gap for Pirro, who's doing that loopy run to get on the end of. But again, because he doesn't make that show for that ball, that pass is removed, and then you can't break them down, and the move dies and it ultimately breaks down. So indecision across the park there.
Yeah, exactly. And that's a common theme we'll see. Like, that, you're right. Aronson gets that ball in there. You've got two quick options. He can turn on it and drive 1v1, have a shot, or he can literally ball in there. Pirro makes a run, ball through.
Little one behind.
The line in 2 passes. But again, this was the reality of the situation when Gnonto's cutting in. Pirro's making the run now, and Aronson doesn't react to it. So, yeah. So then we see this pattern. Gnonto stops. There's no space. Aronson's still there, by the way. He didn't make that run. Pirro didn't even commit to his run. What are you going to do now? You go all the way back.
All the way back.
And this is the same move, Joe. This is continuing, by the way. It skipped about 4 or 5 seconds, but we maintain the ball. And we get in this position now. We go back out wide, but Aronson's come out and he's created a little bit of space in here, which is a good move from Aronson. Smart, very good. Snacker's got the ball there. Perfect. Great position. It's a little bit of creativity from Aronson. Just thinks, I'm not going to stand in there now. I'm going to come out. Drags this guy out with him. Look at all that space. Yeah. Sam Byram finds him. But the next problem is Aronson. He does really well. But it's the intent to attack the back line, the decision making here. He thinks his job's done now. I can just chill. No. Snacker gets that ball. It's the one where he plays the ball over to James. But the issue is there's 2 problems here. One, again, Joe Pirro's movement. Now, Joe Pirro, again, he's got to move quicker. The second this ball goes into Tanaka here, Pirro has to be making this run in here. Because what that does, it takes this centre-back out of the game. So he'll be in here with Pirro, which creates space in behind for Dan James. But also, if Aronson's pushing the back line, which he wasn't, it's a 1v1 out here. So Tanaka's now got a ball over to James with more space because this guy will be further up. And he's got a ball over to Aronson if he's attacking this defender in this space. But Joe Pirro, again, his movement isn't quick enough. It's not decisive enough. So when Tanaka's got the ball, the only ball over is to Dan James, which is headed out. And look, he's going to ball over here. There's no space.
There's no second ball.
Exactly. Whereas if Pirro's reacted earlier and he's into this space, it takes this defender out of it. Yep. It would be around this position, which just creates space in behind so he can do the ball better. And there's more space for Dan James. Likewise, Aronson, second he makes that run out here and the ball's going to Tanaka, he's going, right, I'm attacking that space.
Yeah, hard
His
to run.
fullback ain't keeping up with him. Yeah. Look, fullback ain't interested. There's loads of it.
Oh, he could
And it's
drive now to that
decision-making.
space. Yeah.
Or he could drive into it.
Yeah.
But the indecision from Aronson to why are you there? If you've come out wide, be an option. There's loads of space in behind on this side for a ball over the top. We know Tanaka can do it. He's got it in the locker. So that's the issue on this one for me, Joe. I don't know if you wanted to say about it.
One other real quick thing that I noticed just in that clip, if you go back a slide when it goes back all the way, something that happened an awful lot in this game there is perfect. This drove me nuts in this game. And it's been a pattern of the lesser side of Leeds this season. When it's not been perfect, this has been a complaint of mine. When the ball does go back, for me, we're very guilty of being left-hand Leeds. Everything's on the left. Even Cree's gone, but everything is still on the left-hand side of the park, which is not always our best avenue. When that ball goes back to Rodon, if his body shape is better and his body shape is open, then that ball goes to Bogle and Leeds can go in the other side where there's space to play in. There was far too many times during the game where it went into that central area where the option to open the game out and switch it out wide was on, and Leeds didn't. They checked back inside, went back out into the area that was already congested with players. The game slows down, the tempo slows down, the attacking emphasis it starts to go away, and you end up coming back again and repeating that cycle all over again. But that is one of Leeds' big weaknesses this year, is the inability to switch that ball quickly. Now, when it's Tanaka and Rothwell receiving that ball in the deep area, you will see it go wide quickly. But both centre backs for me have a tendency to turn back towards the left and go back into where all the congestion is. So for me, that's an area I'd love to see Leeds work on and get that ball out to Bogle faster and Dan James quicker while they have space to run into and actually use the pace that they've got before it gets congested with players.
Absolutely. And again, we talk about the five here. These three did really well, just cutting off our front three. However, we didn't do enough, like you said. We went wide left good, but we didn't transfer it to the right quickly. If you do it quickly, this block gets stretched, right? He's got to go out. That creates spaces.
How'd you beat a mid block? Go around it. How'd you beat a low block? Go past it.
Yeah,
go over it.
You've got to stretch it. You've got to move them around quickly. So yeah, that was this situation. I just didn't, again, indecision. Pirro should have moved quicker into this area, dragged the defender out, more space, just off picture for Dan James in behind. Aronson again attacked this fullback.
Yeah.
But we didn't do it.
And when you look at both strikers, Lockie, that's what you get from Mateo Joseph.
Yeah.
But you don't get that from Joe Pirro. But you get more clinical finishing from Joe Pirro that you don't get from Mateo. But you need to create the chances for Pirro, or else he's not in the game. If you're not putting the ball in front of Joe Pirro, then you start Mateo Joseph for me.
Yeah, that's the conversation. And I've got some Mateo clips as well. He disappointed me when he came on. I can't lie. I was very disappointed because what you said is right. And we expected him to do that, but he didn't in this game. And that's the frustration. I guess the manager as well is thinking, I need you to come on and do what we know you can, but he didn't. Yeah, but anyway, from that play, that's where they counter and Bogle got his yellow. It's not good play from us. So yeah, frustrating. The second one, this is a situation again. Now, I didn't mind this. We went long again, Joe, and it worked.
I'm okay with it, so especially with a press
here. Exactly. So this is the last 15 minutes, by the way. They're still willing to press. Why didn't we do this more? Why didn't we play further back to bring them out? We didn't do that, did we? We just went across and wide. We didn't come back. But anyway, they press us. Decent position here, with some decent spaces. But again, that five, you see the five of them. Look at the spaces in behind. It's there. We didn't exploit it. But on this occasion, we did. So Meslier plays a long ball into Joseph's feet here. All that way from him, all the way through into this area to Mateo Joseph's feet. Now, again, Mateo Joseph was lucky here because the defender actually read it before he did. This is where he needs to be on it. But the outcome was the same. The ball goes into Solomon in this half space. And look, you've beat all their midfield. It's gone. Yeah. What do? Solomon gets the ball here. Aronson's advancing, plays it into this space. Again, exploiting the space. Driving. There we go. Better shape. Their entire midfield is gone. We're in space. And what we do here is actually good. Drive out wide and we create a 3v2. Another thing that we did not do enough. And like you said, Joe, when we go right, this is what can happen. Because Bogle, naturally that right-sided attacker, you can do this. But for me here in this situation, the run was wrong from Bogle. He inverted on Nonto here, which means there was no space for Nonto to give him the ball. Yeah. Here he's got to be on the outside of him to drag this guy out to create 2v1 with Aronson and Nonto. But anyway, the idea was we went longer. We cut the midfield out and we just played it into these areas that we vacated. And that's the key. Look where the space is and exploit it. And we did that. And we created a chance. And with a better ball here, like Bogle's made the run, but where's he?
They made it
You
congested.
could argue maybe Aronson's the better pass. Yeah. But
pull away a bit.
Yeah. He should be out here, Bogle, a bit further out to give him the angle, but he didn't. But anyway, that situation, we get the cross. Third one. And there's their block, a kind of mid block. Very good shape, by the way. And the light was terrible in this. The camera was horrible, by the way. But again, this is what you said earlier, Joe. Why is Rodon going left here?
It's so obvious he should be going right.
Yeah. But what I will say in this occasion, compared to earlier, I think Bogle has to be a little wider.
He needs to be much wider and stretch that out completely. Yeah. And I would even say James needs to be a couple of yards deeper as well. And
yeah, exactly. Yeah. So, and this was a problem. Rodon's looking very left here. Just take a touch. Look at all this space.
Let the ball run across you. Open your body out, let it run across you, and then just let it go in space. Play it, job done.
If Bogle's wider, that drags this guy out. Because who else is advancing to him? This guy isn't. He's occupied by Nonto. He has to drag out, and that creates spaces in here. You know, and this is the problem, Joe, right? It's the indecision. We didn't create space for ourselves. And then this is one we actually liked, where Rothwell decided, I'll drop into that right back position, and I'll just create a little overload in midfield. Bogle tucks in, 2v1. This is the midfielder. He's tracked Rothwell, who is now playing right back. Bogle's come inside. Decent. Just little things like this. I didn't think we did it enough. I didn't think we're creative with it. Bogle attacks, but again, the final ball, Joe, he has to pass it here. Nonto's made the run. Play the ball through now. You can see the shape of the defender. He's kind of flat-footed. He's on like that. This is the ball through. But he takes 2 or 3 more touches. When he plays the ball, it's too late.
Yeah,
it's these moments when we break the line. Nonto's made the run where you're going, play it quicker, be more decisive. And we weren't. That's another issue. There's a few more. I don't know if you want to talk just before I do the last few.
Yeah, go for it.
Yeah. Sorry, there's a lot here, but it's just, And again, attack well down that right. Why didn't we do it more? But here, this is right at the end. I think this is like the 88th minute. We get the ball out. Rodon gives it to Bogle. He drives down the line. And all it took was him driving to beat 2 of their pressers. That's it. Because he can do that. He's capable. Nonto again made that run. Hold the width. It's unbelievable that he doesn't give him the ball here, by the way.
Yeah.
He's drove in again. Give him it now. Play that one down the line. He's praying for it. What does he do? He comes inside to Joseph, who's surrounded by 6
for a 1-2.
guys.
He's looking for a 1-2 off Joseph, which is that's asking an awful lot of Mateo Joseph. To trap that ball, surrounded by those players, and get a layoff for Bogle, who I know continues that run, looks for it back. Bad decision making. The obvious pass is usually the right pass, which is the obvious pass there is straight in front of Willie Nonto to let him exploit space.
Exactly. You're looking at here going, oh, this is perfect. He's out of position. He's actually in front of, behind Nonto. Perfect. Give him it in there. Didn't do it. Indecision. Gets the position. It's not even a good pass. It goes straight past Mateo Joseph. It goes nowhere near him. Nonto's rightfully fuming. I think that's all of them, Joe. And again, like you said, this is Tanaka trying to play forward. What has he got on there? He tries to play it through this because there's just nothing else moving. They tried to.
You talk about Aronson being behind players and hiding a little bit, and he's done it again there. He's behind 2 of them, and he's nearly behind the referee as well. If you look at the line of sight from Tanaka to Aronson, you can't see him. There's no access there. So he's trying to find a very difficult pass to split 2 players. And the second Aronson gets that on the half turn, the 6 is going to be on top of him immediately. There's no space there to play in. I would say Bogle needs to be higher up and pushing wider out and looking for that ball off Tanaka, bursting past Tanaka into that space. Or Nonto needs to be dropping into that area and screaming for it. And that's just to opening the game out and creating more space to allow you to play it. And Leeds are better when we have that because we've got the pace to exploit it. But sometimes we just seem to play more into our weaknesses than we do to our strengths. There are some significant strengths, especially in these situations where, again, into the fullback, let him go. But the fullback's behind the play, isn't visible, isn't looking for the ball, and then you're forced into a forward pass and it doesn't work.
You're looking at here, and again, there is space there, but you've got to create a passing lane for that space, and we haven't. Mateo's dropped deep. I think Nonto went off at this point. But Mateo's dropped deeper here. Aronson was on the right. He tucks in, but that's when get up there, Bogle. There's 2 minutes left. Attack. There's no threat. This far back, you're fine. You can go up there. That gives this guy a question. Where do I go? He drops out. This is where Aronson. Second, this guy goes up here to attack Bogle. This is where Aronson can make moves.
Never space.
Spaces.
Yeah.
And same for Mateo Joseph. But we didn't do it. We were too static. Decision making wasn't right. Yeah, indecision for me, Joe. That's all of the clips, I believe.
Yeah, it's interesting. Lucky, I say this every week when we do this, the 2 weeks that we've done it, but it's never always us. You know, Leeds' inability to break down a side isn't necessarily just Leeds' inability to break down a side. Sometimes we've got to look at it. Well, did Bristol City contribute to that? And I think they do. They've got a very good midfield block there. It's very well spaced out. It can be bypassed. It can be broken down. They gave Leeds space to work or to go around them. The wingers option that Leeds have, you'd expect them to exploit that space an awful lot more often. We can just be a little bit slow. Unfortunately, it tends to be more often than not the centre backs that are responsible for that ball not going wide. But in certain situations, especially because it was so tight against Bristol City, it ends up being nearly everybody is trying to play in these tight spaces and not go wide and expand the pitch and try and make it big. And one big thing that you said there that a lot of people don't realise as well is if it is getting congested on the edge of the 18-yard line, you can't get in behind. Go back all the way and tell all of your players to also drop back all the way as well. So as you said, Bristol City have to come out and mark you then because you've dropped. They have to come out. Their strikers will press, the midfield will press, and then you've got space.
And they did that because some teams obviously won't be willing to do that, and you find that out by giving the ball to the keeper. And then if they're not coming up, you're going right. Okay, it's not one of them games. But I showed in the clips there they were willing to do that.
They were, yeah.
So use that. That's where the spaces can appear. And we just didn't do it. We didn't exploit space. I think that's the key thing. I know it's boring, but exploiting the space, making the right pass, movement, just move more. Like I said, when one guy moved, another guy didn't move with him. He didn't create a solid flow. So, yeah, mate, Bristol City shape was really good. But again, we didn't do enough consistently to break it down, which is a theme. We're a good team. We're not a great one yet.
Not yet.
Off the ball as well. Again, we have to keep saying it because I have to give them the flowers. Really good. Every time we did lose it, we won it back quickly, hence the 68% possession. That's for us winning the ball back because we lost it a lot, but we won it back really quick. And I have to credit the defenders for that. Every ball in the air, we won. Second ball, we're on it. Just on the ball, those decisions weren't quite there.
Yeah, I mean, the data backs up the off-the-ball stats. I mean, the fact that Bristol City only managed 4 shots in the entire game and none of them ever made it near the goalkeeper, that backs up how good Leeds were off the ball. And again, minimised their possession as well, kept them to minimal amount of time on the ball. So again, the defensive side of Leeds' game, excellent. Very well done. Attacking side of game, just a bit faster, a bit more expansive. Doesn't have to be... We're not asking people to do stuff they haven't got in their locker. We're not asking for 60-yard through balls. We're looking for people to move the ball faster around the outside into the passing lanes, exploit space, play to your strengths. That's all we're looking for here. And
exactly.
When we do it, Lockie, first 10 minutes against Watford, Norwich City last season, when we do it and do it consistently, so good. It's so good to watch. And I just wonder, I've said it a lot this week. Part of me thinks there's an instruction to step back a little bit. I mean, Farkas comments a bit after Watford when we were 2-0 up saying he was concerned that we'd get complacent and then all of a sudden there's a drop off. And then you see the Bristol City game in the last 10 minutes where everyone's like, they're done, get at them. We didn't. We came back and recycled the ball across the back line. We didn't really try and push forward too much. Which again, at that point, I was kind of thinking, probably happy with a draw. I understand it from one perspective. You look at the 2 points per game, get the draw away from home, get the wins at home, and you're fine. So I do understand it and not wanting to lose the game, but Bristol City didn't offer a huge amount going forward.
I think, however, I agree, but I think there's a mix. Like the point at the Bogle at the end, play that ball through. That's the decision on him to not do that. He plays the ball through. Even the one with earlier on in the game, Byram's literally telling the players what they should be doing. That's obviously from Farker, right? He's not making that up. Byram is just going to make instructions up. He's saying, I've come in, that's where you go out. He's telling them, and that shouldn't happen on the pitch. They should know. But I agree. Yeah. We do like to slow it down and we like to really have control of a game. But you always need to have that threat. So when you do pounce, you're deadly and you're decisive with what you do. Yeah. And we didn't have that against Bristol. We've had it a lot this season where we have had that. But there is certain games that we don't, and this is the result, and it becomes quite boring because if we weren't great defensively, maybe it wouldn't be so boring. It'd be more end to end. But because we're so good defensively, it does get a bit boring. But I love defensive. I love it. At uni when we used to do defensive sessions, but because obviously I didn't play, I did analysis, but I'd have to fill in at left back because we only had one and we played two teams. And when you're part of that back line and you're doing defending and nothing gets through, there's not a better feeling. It's so good. You clear everything out. Everyone's cheering. It's brilliant. So I love it. I love that side of it. I do, but it is boring to watch when you don't have the other side. I agree.
Depends on what you watch and what you're into in football, and I would agree.
Yeah.
I think I love a 1-0. I love a 1-0. Take it all day, every day. Clean sheets are great. They are great. As I said before, the old saying is you win games with attack, but you win leagues with defense. You win trophies with with good defense. We've got that. We just need to, for me, just speed things up a little bit. And I'll always clarify this for people, because there's always someone who will say we can't run around for 90 minutes. We're talking about moving the ball quickly, not the player moving quickly. A ball moves faster than any person can possibly move. Use that. Let the ball do the work for you. Use the space that you've got. Use the pace that you've got on this side when you need it, and exploit teams. But I think sometimes we're just a little bit conservative. We're just a little bit slow to do things. And when we slow it down, for me, this is not as good a team as it is when the tempo's higher.
Absolutely. And again, as a winger, I'm very harsh on wingers. I want more 1v1s. The first clip I showed a Nanto there, again, it's about what you enjoy. I love defensive display, but I love wingers that go 1v1 and take the man on. I absolutely love it. There was opportunities there where they could have gone 1v1. And Bogle as well, give it to Nanto in that position out wide to go 1v1. Because look, our wingers 1v1 against any fullback in this league win. That's a guarantee. Anything in the middle, any passing movement, there's more mistake. 1v1 winger, it's quicker than the fullback, it's better than the fullback. Give it him as much as you can. We did it with Somerville. I know it became a bit one-dimensional, but when it worked, it was devastating. We need to do that more with our wingers this year for me.
Yeah. Brilliant. Lucky, as always, massive thanks for taking us through your clips and the bits and pieces. Folks, I hope that helps give a bit of more of an insight into games. People have asked some questions around when we say a 6, what do we mean by a 6? And when we say CDM, what do we mean by CDM? When we say low block and mid block, we'll get some explainers done for that kind of stuff, and we'll stick them in randomly throughout the whole thing. So for those who are looking for more detail on the terminology behind things, who maybe are newer to the tactic side of the game, we'll get that stuff done for you over time as well. So you'll be able to get the information here as well. Lucky, big thanks. What do you want to see from Leeds going into tomorrow's game or Saturday's game?
A solid defensive performance. I want to. I agree. More excitement, more tempo, more aggression. I want to see players on the same wavelength, making movements, just constantly moving. Even if it's not coming off, just keep trying, keep attempting things. Don't hide. I hate that when players hide. I hate it.
Yeah,
that's what I want to see, mate. Yeah.
Same as. All right.
And a win.
Folks, let us know down below your thoughts on this breakdown and what you want to see from Leeds going into the game against Plymouth on Saturday. I will be back with something on Saturday morning, probably the warm-up. We can check that out. This is obviously pre-record, so I'm not here. But we will be back to normal on Monday as well. We'll have a review from the game, and we'll also have the panel on Monday evening as well to go through the match, so we can check that out. And that'll be it. Massive thanks as always to Lucky and to everyone for watching, and I'll talk to you soon. See ya.